You're not going to get anywhere until we meet where you're at. And it's what we hear. And I do love you and forgive myself for not being able to communicate effectively or to allow someone to grow and learn at a faster pace. And you're amazing now, pouring in millions of people, which is what my mission is, to empower people like Amelia Antonetti, to empower so many others, to empower other people, which is what the Breakfast of Champions is about. And I just want to tell everyone on here I love them. And we'll set the room. Amelia, have a wonderful weekend. I still want to see you in person again. Last time we hugged, we cried for like 5 minutes.
I know. I can't wait.
And I just love you, and I appreciate too.
Did you see my picture riding the bull? I want you to know that you're part of that. My comfort zone of riding the bull.
Not a girl, get out of it all the time. And I do appreciate the over exaggeration of my success as a genius on your life, but you are amazing, and I appreciate you, especially everything you do showing up here. It's not easy. So anyway, we'll get started. Today I'm going to do takeaways of the week. Every month or so, I love to have everyone amplify the biggest lesson that they've learned. What I've learned is life is about these lessons, and the lessons keep on coming until we learn them. They are indicated by pain, setbacks, failures, and mistakes that we have a lesson to learn and to understand we're being promoted and protected by these lessons. But one of the things I've learned about a lesson before I get to set the room with Jake is that a lot of people don't know what lessons to codify, to reposit. So what I've learned is that the best way to aggregate the lessons is only write down or capture the lessons that resonate with you. So as we go through the takeaways of the week, if it doesn't resonate with you, don't worry about it. And if it does, figure out how to capture it. But more important than capturing lessons, today, make a mark by figuring out a system to access the lessons that you've learned, because they're rendered irrelevant. Even the lessons that resonate with you are rendered irrelevant if you don't have a system to access your greatest lessons. So we're going to do takeaways of the week, the greatest lessons you've learned from all the people and places and circumstances and events that you participated in, perceptions that you've participated in. I want everyone here to grow and learn in an accelerated pace, which is what the Breakfast of Champions is about. I have a special guest always on with me, the young Jakey Bakey. Can you go ahead, Jake, and set the room?
I sure can. Thank you so much, Dave. We are here in the Breakfast of Champions. Thank you, Amelia. Thank you, Tony. It is Friday, October 28th, 7 a.m.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Takeaways of the Week. We're going to rock and roll here. We're setting it. We have over 70,000 people registered. Please load up your questions. Give me your takeaway, your lesson of the week. And remember, everyone, here we go. We'll have Jakey. Go ahead. And I'm going to invite people in. Invite your friends to come join us. We're going to rock and roll with the takeaways of the week. And that's what we're doing here. Invite your friends. You can hear Jake going off. We are blessed. Remember, with lessons, let's just write down the ones that resonate with you.
Topic is the takeaway of the week. So if you have a takeaway you'd like to share, any takeaway that you learned from the week, please feel free to back channel me and we will aim to bring you up. So with that in mind, Dave, I'll pass it back over to you if you want to share your takeaway of the week. And then when you're ready, we'll bring up Super Mario to share his.
Right on. So my takeaway of the week, I created something called the stage theory, stolen from Shakespeare, right? The whole world is my stage. Therefore, I should be capturing as much of my life as possible, modifying it, amplifying it, and perpetuating it. But there's a new lesson that I learned that wasn't available before, and it's discoverability. One of the criteria or litmus tests of the brand, whether it's a product, service, solution, or self, is how discoverable are you? And this realm of discoverability, because we have 7.6 million people in our larger consciousness, we want to elevate that discoverability or qualify the discoverability by our frequency. You know, who do we want discovering us? Because if we have people that may not be aligned with us, we don't want them discovering us because they'll create resistance or take up time in order to effectuate the disalignment that we have or frequency disparity that we have. And so discoverability is a great thing to focus in on because it's a confirmation of your ability to capture, modify, amplify, and perpetuate whatever it is, your product, service, solution, or brand. But more importantly, working your way, connecting the dots backwards in discoverability. I've advanced the idea of discoverability to a point where I have an actual full-time discoverability employee. And what does that discoverability employee do? It effectuates all the asking that I'm doing because we've aggregated so much content that's discoverable. We now want to go ahead and proactively stimulate interest to be discoverable. And so I have a full-time employee that's 7 days a week, wherever he goes, and he's welcome to go wherever he wants, to trade shows, conferences, speeches, masterminds, hotel lobbies, pools, wherever. But I want him in the course of his day and night to walk up to people and to talk to people and to say, hey, what do you do? And listen. And then ask them, hey, what do you like about what you do? And then ask them, what don't you like about what you do? And when they tell him what they're struggling with, challenges or things that they just don't like, he simply says, oh, I can introduce you to David Meltzer. And 3 things happen. Every once in a while, someone says, oh, I love that guy, and that'd be awesome. And every, hopefully less than once in a while, somebody says, oh, I hate that mofo. And then it gives him an opportunity to say why. And then actually gives me an opportunity to speak to that person to see what I'm doing to have a disparate or separate opinion of myself and them. And then finally, the majority of the people, which is understandable for all of us, who the heck is that? And then he simply asked them in the mode of discoverability, do you communicate via LinkedIn or Clubhouse or Snapchat or Facebook or IG, whatever it is, and whatever they then state they best communicate, whatever platform that is, they simply just bring up all the content I have on that platform and introduce them into it and have them follow me. And then I have now built onto a community of sponsors and power sponsors. And during the course of the day, in person, on the phone, via email and social media, not only is my entire team in a mode of discoverability on a platform of capture, modify, amplify, and perpetuate, but we have an individual discoverable employee. So I want everyone to connect the dots backwards and think about the lesson of discoverability, because it allows you to scale your product, service, solution, or brand exponentially by building a foundation or community of sponsors and power sponsors and providing them the frequency, the information in order to grow that community with that simple process of finding out how you could be of service or value, how you could help others or find others to help you, and how they can help you and find others that can help you as well. Discoverability, write down, capture those lessons, modify them, amplify them, and perpetuate them. Build a database to allow yourself to be more discoverable in person, on the phone, via email and media, traditional and social. And I promise you, the exponential awareness and the resonance of the frequency of those who are at or equal to your frequency will be aggregated and compounded to provide you great inertia and energy into the trajectory that you want. Anyway, Jakey Bakey, let's go ahead and get started. So happy to be here on Takeaway of the Day. If anyone wants that template, by the way, the discoverability template, just go ahead, email me. And that's in my thing, david@dmeltzer.com. Just in my bio or notes, and Jake will probably repeat it 8 times. But Jake, go ahead. Let's bring up Mario.
Let's do it. And yes, I will repeat it. I'll repeat it quickly here so everyone gets it. It's just david@dmeltzer.com, david@dmeltzer.com. Let's bring up our first takeaway of the week. Super Mario, welcome to the clubhouse. If you can please unmute yourself and share. Welcome.
Yeah, I love this. My biggest takeaway this week is an easy one to say for me to do, but it's a hard one to practice. And that is, don't take things very personally. And as I've taken on that practice this week, I can already tell you it's been a struggle, but it's been a very much desired outcome in terms of increasing the connection to the relationships that I have in my life.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, Xander's wrote rule number 6, and rule number 6 is don't take yourself so seriously, completely aligned with the need to be offended, which is the easiest need to feed. I wish I could feed the world as fast as we could feed ourselves. with the need to be offended. But when you don't take yourself so seriously, it's so easy not to be offended. And if anybody wants to know what rule 1 to 5 is as well, it's go to number 6. Life is so much easier. Forgiveness is so much easier. Gratitude is so much easier when we don't take ourselves so seriously. What a great lesson for those that it resonates with. Write it down and create a system to access it. Mario, thanks for starting us off with a home run. I appreciate you.
Perfect. Thank you, Mario. Yes, we are definitely 1 for 1, Dave. Let's bring up Barbara now. Barbara, welcome to the clubhouse. If you want to share your takeaway for the week, welcome.
Hi. So hi, David. Hi, Jake. Hi, Super Mario. This is actually going to lead right into what Jake, and I'm sorry, Super Mario, just talked about. I had to tell myself, you can't control the waves, but you can learn how to surf. So actually it's probably on right now. I do segments on the Today Show, and I taped on Monday, and I was doing DIY Halloween costumes. So wake up 5 o'clock in the morning, start getting ready. My hair guy who's going to get my hair, because I'm going to be dressed like a giant sushi. So you got to have like hair to look like a sush. He calls out. He's like, I'm not available. I'm like, dude, I'm going to be on the Today Show in 3 hours. What do you mean? And what is, you have to wait. You have to see the show to see what a sushi haircut looks like. So I'm like, all right, listen, you can only control how you respond to things, right? I'm like, listen, crying over spilt milk isn't going to put the milk back in the carton. I'm like, all right, Babs, you got to figure this out. Fine, I find a hair person. Crisis averted. So I get in the driver picks me up. I'm heading into the show. All the costumes are dropped off. And my cute little Elvis impersonator, 6 years old, he walks in. He could be the cutest 6-year-old on planet Earth. And he's so excited. He's like, I can't wait to be Elvis. I can't find the Elvis costume. It's gone. I'm like, you must be kidding me. I'm like, I've got a couple hours before I'm going, on air. I'm like, all right, I'm going to run back to the hotel. I clearly left it either in the hotel or my car. I race back. I'm 5 blocks away. This is like, I'm going to zoom. So I go to, it's not my car. The producer calls me. Where are you? I'm like, the Elvis costume's gone. She goes, no, we took it. We have it. I'm like, we're going to put Elvis in his costume. So I'm like, crisis averted. Awesome. When I tell you I got caught in the worst traffic, I was 6 blocks away. It took me 45 minutes to get back. You're thinking to yourself, hey, Barbara, why don't you just jump out and run in your sushi outfit with your sushi hair and your sushi self? Well, Sushi Von shoots me. I can't get out of the car and run because it's pouring rain. I'm 4 blocks away, caught in the most miserable New York City traffic. Roads are cut off, and all 11 of my models are there trying to get ready, looking for the person that's hosting. And all I had to say to myself was, Barbara, you're not saving lives. You are doing DIY costumes. There's nothing you can do. So throwing a tantrum, having a meltdown, or escalating this isn't going to do anything. The waves just got rough. Learn how to surf and just calm down. And I sat in traffic and there was nothing I could do. I got there, me and my sush and all my little costumes. The segment went off without a hitch, but I just share that because there are times where things are just going to unhinge and you can only control yourself. And I swear I told myself, I'm not saving lives here. I am literally dressing people up like Elvis and Lizzo and everyone else. And my lesson was practice what you preach, lady, because life's going to throw you some curveballs and see if you're a person of your word or you're a person of hot air. And honestly, I got in there, I got it done, and I get to share the story with you today. And if you're bored, I think I'm on the Today Show right now. I don't like watching myself. And I like being in David Meltzer's room. So instead of watching Hoda, Jenna, and Babs, I'm just sitting here with you guys sharing my my sushi drama. So I hope that landed.
It landed for me. And, as we don't take ourselves so seriously, it's amazing. It brings up a point for me. And number one, I don't like watching myself ever. And I always try to process why I want. And, that self-criticism or self appearance is difficult for me. But moreover, I have, I think this example utilized time to help me, because whether it's this or the millions of other things that bug the crap out of me or you or anybody else, I think when we can use time as a dependent variable to improve, today, all the activities that we have today, and that includes thinking about the future, talking about the future, believing about the future, and feeling about the future, or giving meaning to our past. I can simplify, my own ease by how much time am I spending outside of the trajectory of what I want. And if I can quantify better and better the amount of time that I waste looking for Elvis costumes and frustrated or anxious or angry or worried or resentful or offended or separate, inferior, superior, complaining, judging other people, attacking other people in these different conditions, if I can actually quantify and measure the amount of time each day and try to improve on that time, regardless of the multiple stories that you and I and everyone else have every day, if I can utilize time as the dependent variable, then I'm in the flow more and more and more. Then I'm connected to source more and more and more. Then I'm more intellectual, more intuitive, and more inspired because of my awareness of the quantifiable measurement of time in order to effectuate less resistance and less dis-ease. And it's amazing how much our hair or an Elvis costume can create dis-ease in our life. And when I say dis-ease, it's not just energetic dis-ease, that when we are energetically in dis-ease, cortisol is created and it puts our actual cells at dis-ease, and it aggregates and compounds the dis-ease just like anything else. So understanding the quantifiable dependent variable of time in the context of this interference, whatever it is, that's why not taking ourselves so seriously really is a cure to dis-ease. And what a great story. I love watching you, though, just so you know, and no better platform than Good Morning America to get the exposure and awareness and to spread the joy that you do. And thank you so, so much for joining us here and picking us over yourself. It's so kind and generous. Anyway, Jake, we are blessed to have such an extraordinary group here at the Breakfast of Champions. Why don't we reset the room real quick? It's takeaway of the week.
Yes, and thank you so much, Barbara, for joining and being here. Really appreciate it. Everyone who is on here, everyone at the Breakfast of Champions on TikTok, LinkedIn, Instagram, everyone here in the David's Free Friday training he's been doing for over 23 years. Today's topic, just to reiterate, is your takeaway of the week. So if you have a takeaway you'd like to share, please feel free to back channel me or raise your hand. Or if you'd like to, just to share a takeaway to David, just email him, david@dmeltzer.com. david@dmeltzer.com. Let's continue to share the room, share with your friends, your family, the whole community. And we've got a lot of people here that are lined up to share their takeaway. So Dave, I'll bring up Lydia next here on Clubhouse to share her takeaway of the week. Welcome, Lydia.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Wonderful. I'd like to share my takeaway of today. And it was basically that short phrase that said, "I'm sorry is noise." And I loved the sequencing of an apology because I work with people who have a tendency to not be able to connect with their emotions. They have no words for emotion. They are, in jargon, it's called alexithymia. I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly. I'm German, so forgive me if I'm wrong. The idea here is to help them understand what words can basically connect with the reactions that they're triggering in others, which they are not happy with. And it's not that easy a task, but if you're familiar with the idea of non-verbal communication, every word counts for them. And they are very, very quickly frustrated, very, very quickly tuned out, and very quickly judging whatever they don't know anything about. So this is an incredible, phrase because of the fact that a lot of times when they do realize something after the fact, they say, I'm sorry, but that just doesn't do the repairing after. So this was a real, nugget for me. And I'd like to yield the mic saying thank you to Amelia, thank you, David, and thank you, Jake, for bringing me up.
Oh, of course. And, Heather Monahan, I believe, and I am always expanding and expounding upon great lessons that I've learned from others as well, and gave me one, which is never say I'm sorry, always say thank you. So one of the negative or interfering habits that I had was always, I'm sorry for this, I'm sorry to be late. And just thank you for your patience. Thank you for your forgiveness. Thank you for your understanding. Thank you for your awareness. Thank you for the lesson. And I think just the energy and the acknowledgement that comes with telling people thank you instead of I'm sorry can change everything. And I do, when I say the words thank you, I feel differently than when I say the words I'm sorry. Sorry is a less than energy, and thank you is an ultimate energy. It's a love, it's a truth. And when we tell people or expose or illuminate the mistakes that we've created, and people do them all the time, and we amazingly project blame, shame, and justification on others for the exact same activity or action or perception that we have, and sometimes within minutes. And I've seen this, with my own daughters who will, complain or worry or be frustrated with somebody that's, being a mean girl, and then their response to the mean girl is to be a mean girl. Or I've seen my wife, get cut off and, give the number one sign to the person and scream at them and get frustrated and angry. And then within, 5 minutes, cut somebody else off and say, don't they know I didn't do that on purpose? Of course not. And that's why we should say thank you for instead of I'm sorry for. And I think it will have a more fulfilling alignment with what we do. And of course, it starts with us. And when, we're thirsty, give water. When we're hungry, give food. And when we have a need, give that need. And so when we're looking for gratitude, give gratitude for the patience, the awareness, the identity, whatever it may be. This is an extremely important revelation that I have had, and want to thank, I hope, Heather Monahan for teaching me that about being late, about thank you for your patience every time that I'm late. That's the response I now give. Incredible takeaways, and we're only halfway through. Jake, let's go ahead and bring up the next takeaway of the week.
Let's do it. Thank you for your patience. Heather taught so many people that. Dave, you've taught so many people that. So thank you to Heather. Let's bring on Susie Miller. Susie, if you can please unmute yourself and share your takeaway of the week. Welcome.
Hey, Jake. Hey, David. Good to see you both. This is kind of fortuitous because you talked about dis-ease. And one of the things, going back to what Mario said about not taking yourself so seriously, I actually had the reverse happen for me this last week, where I actually had to take myself and my words seriously and made a decision to step away from a business venture because I had to live true to what I have taught and say about people being the most important part of your business, your life, and that if you put people first, profits will always come. And for me, it was this moment of dis-ease in leading up to that lack of congruence within my own soul, mind, energy, and making a decision that, and when you talked about the dis-ease that, drives your cortisol up, that's been something I've really had to watch in my own personal health journey. And the ease that came in after making a decision that was in alignment with who I am and what I stand for, but the letting go of all the ramifications. Like, I can't control what happens afterwards. I can only make a decision in alignment with who I am, who I'm called to be, the energy I'm committed to. And it was a difficult one, but the dis-ease that I was living in beforehand, because there was a contradiction in my own soul, was immediately, I remember looking in the mirror and going, I just feel relief. And so that sense of trusting ourselves and taking our word seriously, what we tell other people, are we walking the talk, living what we say? Because in those places, and I agree with Mario, the places that he mentioned not taking yourself seriously is so important. But the times that we really have to align our actions with our words. and with our convictions and with our principles. And so that was a very big takeaway for me this week. That once I did that, the dis-ease lifted. Now, it doesn't mean it wasn't hard, but there was congruence once again in looking forward. So that's my big takeaway for the week.
I love that takeaway, and it brings up a mechanism that I learned, when we're at dis-ease, when we are taking offense or whatever separation that we have from a participation in a perception of others or ourself, you have a natural reaction from the ego to resist it, to fight it, to go over it, under it, or through it, to go around it, to lie to it, manipulate it, cheat it, or deny it. And what you're talking about is just stopping, right? And when we can just stop and breathe and bring ourselves, utilizing the dependent variable of time to put us back into ease, back into center, back into our baseline, hopefully a plateau for the day, a higher self that we are in search of or pursuing. But if we can put ourselves back into a higher self, not only won't we accelerate in the wrong direction, but we won't have resistance or dis-ease or interference to our higher self. And this idea of, when we have a need to be offended, separate, inferior, superior, anxious, frustrated, unworthy, whatever you want to say, our mind, our body, and our soul are on fire. Our mind, our body, and soul are at dis-ease. It's at dis-ease. And everybody knows when you are on fire that you need to stop first, then drop and breathe, and then you're capable of rolling in the right direction or trajectory of what you think you want in the future. And this is a confirmation of the only three limitations that we have is the limitation of the past, is the meaning that we've given our past, the defined moments or inflection points of that past. The only limitation of today is time, which is why it's the dependent variable of everything. And if we utilize time in order to indicate progress of our potential, and then the limitation of the future, as you have quite eloquently stated, is self. And how we perceive the participation of self with others is critical in accelerating, compounding, and aggregating a trajectory of what we think we want in the future. Other people call it pivoting or adjusting or evolving. To me, it's just mathematical in nature, utilizing these understandings or awareness of limitation and time in order to effectuate acceleration, growth, and of course, compounding of the proper behaviors and a trajectory of what we think we want by what we do, say, think, believe, and feel in that trajectory. Absolute genius from everyone. Amazing, how we get in our own way is my takeaway from the takeaway so far. And I'm hoping that we can all alleviate that and utilize the limitations in time and perspectives and participation in that to improve ourselves, to live at a higher selves, to live at ease. Genius. I love it. I'm so excited. This has been amazing so far. Jake, why don't you reset the room since we're halfway? And, if anybody wants that stop, drop, and roll, if anybody wants the discoverability document, if it's free, it's we. So just email me. Go ahead, Jake.
If it's free, it's we. Thank you, Dave. I will quickly reset the room here. This is the Breakfast with Champions. We are here on David Meltzer's hour, 7 a.m. Pacific time, 10 a.m. Eastern time. Today's training and today's topic is your takeaway of the week. So if you have a takeaway of the week you'd like to share, please feel free to raise your hand, back channel me, and we will aim to bring you up. Also, let's take a quick little bit here to share the room. This is really the best room on Clubhouse. Let's continue to share at the bottom there. There's a square with an arrow. Share with your friends, share with your family. You can share on messages, Twitter, Facebook, and of course here on Clubhouse. So let's continue to share. Let's brighten up the room. Let's bring some great takeaways. And while we're at it, Dave, we're actually here in Las Vegas filming Office Hours Season 3 with guests like Tony Hawk, Gary Vee, Rob Dyrdek. And it's our last day of filming. We're filming episodes 9 to 12. So it's been an amazing run. So we hope everyone can tune in when that does air. So just wanted to shout that out. And let's bring up more people here for Takeaway of the Week. Does that sound good, Dave?
Yeah, no, and I want to thank my team as well. We have evolved from Bloomberg to Amazon Prime to Apple TV, the first late night entrepreneurial show where we bring those kind of people, from Cameron Diaz, Dan Aykroyd to Ricky Williams to Eric Dickerson, whoever it may be. But we're really trying to get into their head about business and the applicability of skills, knowledge, and desire of how they've utilized their careers instead of the entertainment side of it, but more importantly, the instruction side. How can you give us directions to be a spirit of excellence? So anybody that hasn't caught it, feel free. It's a lot of fun. It's, I don't know if you, Jake, if you've seen, but it's at all the airports now, hotel rooms, and I never imagined the power of being at a gate at an airport, but it's a great way to get a brand out there. Go ahead.
Definitely have seen it. I think the texts come in just about every day from airports all across the country. So
obligatory. Thanks, man.
Perfect. Let's bring up Doha here. Doha, if you could please unmute yourself and share your takeaway of the week. Welcome.
Hi. My takeaway for the week is just show up. And it's extremely powerful. I've been showing up to the gym. I didn't do anything for 2 weeks. I just go to the sauna and just
I love it.
Yes, just to build the habit, just to take it easy and to take the pressure and anxiety. Just make it simple. Just show up. Even if you're not doing anything, just the fact that you showed up, that's already half the battle. And if you showed up for 2 weeks, okay, why not just try the treadmill after 2 weeks, you know? So I played with that, and it actually, like, I'm able to transform my life just by showing up. So that's it.
Oh my goodness. What a great one. I thank people for showing up, and it's amazing what happens when you show up. And I always say the first 5 minutes suck. So go ahead and show up and see what happens after the 5 minutes. You can always go back to not showing up. And that never happens, because once you show up, you have created momentum, utilizing that inspiration, that motivation of showing up in order to effectuate the intuition, the intellect, and that inspiration continues to carry you forward. It's a great way to lower the bar, to have the show up attitude. How many times, do we decide to do something and show up to a party or to an event or to go outside or to the gym? How many times do we do that? I would venture to say every time. And we are so grateful that we did. So grateful that we showed up. And nothing's going to happen unless you show up. The first 5 minutes of showing up is going to suck, but then it gets extremely great. And by the end of showing up, we're always like, I am so glad, including working out. I always joke around because I love to run, and I can't imagine how many times, because I run really early after my meditation at 4:30 in the morning. I can't tell you how many times I'm like, I do not want to go run. And then I say, just go outside for 5 minutes and run, and go ahead and put your shoes on and your running gear on and get outside. And if you don't like it after 5 minutes, turn around and walk back, right? What's it going to hurt? Show up. I've never turned around and walked back. In fact, every single time that I go ahead and do that, I literally, as I get back from running, go, I feel so great. That was amazing. And we live by feeling. That's the confirmation of what we do, say, think, and believe. And we can utilize even time, right? Time is the dependent variable. It's the pragmatic factor in all matter, subjective and objective matter. And it is aligned, believe it or not, with showing up. And so use that dependent variable of time to say, I'm just going to show up for this amount of minutes and watch what happens. If you're going to have a takeaway from the takeaways, I love showing up as the takeaway of the takeaway so far for the day and for the week, for the month, the year, and hopefully your lifetime. It's amazing what happens when you show up, and be grateful for those who show up for you as well. That will also add to the exponentiality of a collective consciousness and a community like we've created here. Once again, I want to thank everybody for showing up to Breakfast of Champions every Friday. We've been doing trainings for over 23 years. We're on a webinar right now as well in IG and TikTok and Clubhouse. We have over 70,000 people that have shown up, registered for Friday training. Believe it or not, it started with two people in my office at Lee Steinberg Sports and Entertainment that showed up for a sales training, and it's evolved with these same philosophies into what we have today. And I want to thank everyone for showing up. Go ahead, Jake. I want to thank you for showing up. Let's continue on.
Just show up. That's what I think everyone just learned here. Just show up and the rest will be taken care of itself. So let's bring up our next guest who definitely shows up and always shows up. Let's bring up Magena. Magena, welcome to the clubhouse. If you can please unmute and share your takeaway for the week. Welcome.
Thank you, Jake. Hi, everyone. Hi, David. This is Magena.
Hi,
Wonderful to
Magena.
see all of you. Hi.
You say, Jake says Magena, I say Magena. Exactly.
I think it's very important in life to have options. So I love that I have many name options.
That's so beautiful. I love it too. I always say, just call me. I don't care what you call me. Just call me.
Me too. I'm not picky. Whatever pleases you, just pick up the phone and dial.
Exactly.
And I love how the lady who just spoke said to show up. I showed up at this event last month in New York City. It's a family office where I'm a member. And that same day I was going to travel to Albania to surprise my parents with a visit to shop at the door, right? So I said, you know what, do I show up at this event or do I just go straight to the airport? I push myself, I show up somewhere in there. I connect with a beautiful couple and I'm pretty much sharing with them what I envision the future to be for me. And I mentioned the few things that I wanted to do. And the lady turns around and says, what if you could have all of those wishes wrapped in one wish? I said that would be super awesome. And she's like, you pretty much manifested it. She's like, how about you come and interview our guests at this event we're holding in LA? And I said, I absolutely will. And you better not ask anyone else. I'll make sure I'm back in the country for that event. I will show up. So pretty much a couple of weeks later, I show up in LA, not knowing anything about the event, not knowing much about this beautiful couple, not knowing who I was going to interview. I've never interviewed anyone at that capacity in my life, but I've always envisioned myself as a little girl, before I was even 7 years old, pretending to interview guests at my own show, and I would use my hairbrush as a microphone back in the day in Albania. So I show up, and who shows up there? David Meltzer and Jake. I freaked out. I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And then David comes next to me. I'm like, David, this is Magena from Clubhouse. He's like, I recognize the voice. Anyways, I wanted to share that story about the showing up. But then the takeaway for this week, I created this beautiful event that took place last night here in New York City with women in property management. And that's been my space for over 10 years in New York City. But I've always been on the service providing side as a vendor, as I call it. But the way my attitude has been, we all are in the service providing industry, starting with our family, friends, personal, professional relationship, you name it. So I never was that girl, oh, she's the vendor. I'm like, no, you need us. I'm here to make your life easy. However you want to see it, you're also serving someone else. And over the years, I've nurtured these relationships, and I sent an invitation to 100 women and only like 5 men who are decision makers in the space. I bring my mother, and oh my goodness, what a beautiful event it turned out to be. And I went off script because I love going off script. The other lady that organized the event with me, so it was 2 of us, she was going to interview the guests and I was doing the filming. But of course, I cannot help myself. I raised my hand at my own event and I created that opportunity to speak, because not only showing up, you guys, because you can show up, but how do you show up? Do you just
beautiful.
show up and stay in the corner, or do you see an opportunity and you grab it? But I take it to the next level and I create the opportunities. So I created an opportunity for myself and I introduced myself to the people in the room and I said, I love all of you for being here tonight, and I'm more excited to meet the ones that I have not met yet, because the ones I already have in my circle, they're there. But I love and I feel wealthier because my circle just expanded tonight. And I gave a little bit of a story of how I came up in the industry, how I was the only woman on the service providing side who grabbed a chair, had a seat at the table, And the ladies were always saying, be brave, be this, be that. And my message to all these beautiful women was, you all say, knock on doors, bring chairs, create chairs, build chairs. I get it. Bring microphones. I even said last night, I will use my natural microphone. So I just spoke without a microphone because I love using my hands. And I said, look, it's all good that we knock on doors. However, if no one on the other side of the door opens that door for us, there's nothing we can do about those doors. We go knock on other doors. So I said, credit goes to you because you open the doors. So I no longer see doors. I no longer see windows. I just see an open space. So my takeaway is make an opportunity to tell parts of your story because you would connect in a deeper level, and it removes those judgments or questions about people, especially if you are an organizer and people might find you unapproachable or you're this or you're that. Share, because every single human being on this planet can relate. We are all relatable. Back to you.
Yeah, thank you, McKenna. And it was so great to see you at the launch. Maria Osmond and the America's Real Deal, the TV show that will be on Fox. Been blessed to be a part of that. And it was so nice to see you. What a great surprise that was. And it's amazing, you know, how you show up is what I'm taking away from what you say. So, you know, it is one thing. If you show up with an open mind, open heart, and open hands, that's how you should show up. And I want to give a big shout out to the Los Angeles Chargers superstar, Austin Eckler, because he's always showing up. In fact, not only is he showing up here at training, and Colleen Malloy also just showed up. I appreciate her showing up. But Austin Eckler, think about this. This guy is all over the place, but he is the superstar of an NFL team in season right now. And he's constantly showing up to learn. He's constantly showing up with an open mind, open heart, and open hands. And in fact, when I had asked him to show up tonight, I'm going to give him a big shout out, asked him to show up for my son's Pop Warner football team, a bunch of 12-year-olds on his bye week on a Friday night at 8 p.m. And I couldn't believe his response was absolutely, yes, I would love to do that. That man knows how to show up. You've been going to know how to show up. How are you showing up? Are you showing up in the pursuit of your potential? And I am sure, you know, and little did he know, there's, you know, many influential and powerful people that'll be at the practice, the parents that I'm sure will want to hire him for appearances, endorsements, speaking engagements, coaching, whatever it is, as his career evolves beyond how amazing he is. And so the takeaway for me, McKenna, and you are representative of this, is how are you showing up? So the first step is to show up. Then how are you showing up? Are you showing up with an open mind, an open heart, and open hands? And are you part of a community of sponsors and power sponsors, people who can help each other and people who know people who can help each other? Thank you, McKenna. Thank you, Colleen. And thank you especially, Austin Eckler, for taking the time on your bye week, not only to show up here to training every Friday into IG Lives and everywhere else that you show up, but most importantly, to help me and my son. You're going to change lives tonight by taking an 8 p.m. Friday trip out to a bunch of 12-year-olds. You're amazing. Anyway, Jake, super excited. I just had to do that. Give a big shout out to all three of those wonderful people, Colleen, McKenna, and of course, our wonderful Austin Eckler. Go ahead, Jake. Why don't you reset the room?
Sure will. Yes, and thank you so much, McKenna, for sharing your takeaway of the week. Thank you, Austin Eckler. Thank you, Colleen. Thank you, everybody, for joining and being here. We are in the #1 room here on Clubhouse, the Breakfast with Champions. It's the 7 a.m. Pacific time edition with, of course, the one and only David Meltzer. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Today's topic for David's training he's been doing for over 23 years is sharing your takeaway of the week. So we've got 13 minutes here left. There's a lot of people that want to share your takeaway, but if you don't have a chance to share this week, we will bring you back on to share another week. So you can email David@dmeltzer.com, David@dmeltzer.com, and we will schedule to have you to come back on to share your takeaway. So with that in mind, Dave, let's bring on our next takeaway. Deborah has been waiting patiently. Deborah, if you can.
Oh, wait. Hey, Jake, one more thing. If anybody is in Europe or Portugal, I have one extra ticket. I'm keynoting at Web Summit November 1st through 4th. So if anybody in the community I hate to waste the very expensive power. It's 70,000 people sold out. If you haven't been to Web Summit in Portugal, I have an extra ticket. So a little news announcement, but it just came to me. I got till 6 o'clock to give it away. So please email me as well, david@dmeltzer.com. Sorry, Jake, I forgot that.
Perfect. I'll put the link to the Web Summit in the messages here on Clubhouse. So if anyone wants more information on Web Summit, I'll also put David's email if you would like that extra ticket for Web Summit in Portugal next week. So yes, with that in mind, I was just bringing up Deborah. Deborah, if you can please unmute yourself and welcome to the Clubhouse to share your takeaway of the week.
Hi, good morning, everyone. This is Deborah Driggs coming in from Los Angeles. And I would have to say, first of all, thank you so much for the room. Thank you, Jake, for bringing me up. And I just wanted to say, coming in with gratitude this week, I had my very first book launch on October 25th. And so my big takeaway is, just to remain consistent and patient and humble and grateful, because even when those big success things happen, I find that the more humble and the more gratitude that I pour into it, it just makes it an even more special event. And so that was my big takeaway, is just remaining calm, because a lot of different things were happening. I was being pulled on lots of different radio shows and podcasts, and everyone wants to interview for different outlets, and I just had to remain really calm. And sometimes I think our ego can edge out things that really don't have any big meaning, and especially when there's success. And my takeaway for the week is that, but it's also a life takeaway, because I've had a lot of success in my life, a lot of ups and downs. And when I look back on it, the big lesson is to remain humble and grateful and be of service. So that's my big takeaway for the week. And I'm really excited to be here. And David, thank you always for giving everybody such wonderful wisdom and being here on this Friday with us. So thank you.
Oh, you're so kind. And I think for me, what resonates or stands out is humility. And I've shifted the paradigm of humility in my life from, being of service and of value, carrying gratitude. All of those are, of course, incorporated into humility. But for me, the greatest aspect of humility is to ask for help. The ego does edge goodness out of our life, create interferences, voids, and dis-ease, as we talked about previously. But I think humility, the lowest point, right? The ocean is the lowest point because everything flows into it. And we want to be as low as possible. If you've studied Lao Tzu or, the Tao Te Ching, whatever you're studying, we want to be as low as possible. And humility is the key aspect of staying humble or staying low. And the greatest performance or activity of humility is to ask for help, which is why my daily prayer changed from may God put at least 10 people in front of me to add, may God put at least 10 people that could help me as well. And we talked about asking in person, on the phone, via email, social media, traditional media. So with all the different requests that we may or may not have in our lives, I think it's equally important as finding people that we can be of service or value to with the discoverability, which we did earlier. Being discoverable also has a key aspect of humility of ask for help. Find people who sit in a situation that you want to be in and accelerate the path by asking them for directions. When we ask for help, we accelerate. When we give help, asking people, and putting people and elevating people or helping people get what they want, we create statistical success by doing that. The combination of asking for help and giving help will not only provide the acceleration that we all want in the trajectory of what we think we want, but more importantly, it actually builds that community of sponsors and power sponsors that gives us the statistical success, because we have more people helping us and more people that they know are helping us, which provides us the statistical success because we have helped them. So make sure we utilize humility in both directions, not just to be grateful for all the wonderful people that are asking us to help them through interviews and platforms and speaking and coaching and all that. But let's make sure that we are at our lowest point. Let's get the ego out of our way. It's not our amigo, and go ahead and ask for help. Go ahead and display the ultimate humility. Continue to find people who sit in a situation that you want to be in and ask them for directions, as well as help people get what they want. That combination of who will change your life. I promise you. And if anybody wants that document that I created, the exercise of discoverability, I think, just email me. I would love to give it to you. All right, Jake, we're coming into the final stretch. If we were at Del Mar, we would have the big call rounding the last turn. Here comes Jakey Bakey in the lead. What do you got for me?
Yes, final stretch. Here we go. Let's bring up Greg Becker. Greg, if you could please unmute yourself and share your takeaway of the week. Welcome.
Thank you, Jake. I'm usually on an AirPod. I'm not now, but can everybody hear me okay?
Sounds great. Maybe you should dump the AirPods.
I might do that. Yeah, my share, biggest share of the week also, it focuses on how we show up, as McGinna was mentioning. And this event just occurred the other night when my wife and I were dining. We were out dining, and we always, for the most part, when we're out anywhere in public, whether it be in the grocery store or in a department store or restaurant, we send out a good vibe. We're both expressing and sharing goodness that can permeate into others, and not only do we benefit from it, but they do as well. And when we were dining out the other night, we had no idea that this had been like the worst day for our server. She had a couple tables she was waiting on, and the people were apparently just the worst customers, as a server, the worst ones you could have. I don't know all the details. I don't know what was going on. But then not only that, but apparently there was some arguing going on between coworkers in the kitchen. So she was getting it from both ends. She was getting it out on the floor, and then she'd go back in the kitchen, and there was commotion going on, negative commotion going on in there. And but unbeknownst to us, my wife and I we were sowing goodness into her and kindness into her, and we were laughing and joking a little bit. And she had just expressed, that's when she expressed to us how bad her day was going, but we changed that. So I think, showing up, it's how we show up when we're out there in the world, that, we don't know what's going on in the lives of others, but how we show up can change everything for them in that moment or that day.
Yeah, no doubt. I think, the greatest lesson that I take from that as well is I always say be accountable when you show up. And accountability has evolved for me from one of responsibility, which is incorporated in accountability. Responsibility is what ability do we have to respond in situations to be a positive protector and promoter, not a punisher, not a blame, shame, justification person. And it evolved from that response ability into the laws of attraction, which was, what am I doing to attract this to myself, and what am I supposed to learn from it? So now incorporating these lessons or takeaways with every one of these types of activities. So not only am I viewing my capability or ability to respond, my response ability, but also through the laws of attraction, what did I do to attract this to myself? But within the context of both of those, there's still this idea of punishment, that I'm doing something to have this in my life. And what word or evolution that I have in this idea of how are we showing up, how am I accountable for how am I showing up, is what am I doing to participate in the perceptions of others and self. And when we start looking at things with this perspective, this participation of perspective, then we start being more open-minded and empathetic to, hey, this meal isn't just about me and my wife. and getting our meal on time at the highest quality of food and the best value for the price, and my reservation and table being available on time, or what every other thing that may interfere with what should be ease of enjoyment of pursuit of this meal, sharing with your wife on date night. And date nights get ruined because we don't participate in the perception of self and others in the right manner, in a positive direction of promotion and protection, and we create dis-ease by punishing ourselves. Well, the same hold true, not just a perception of self, but perception of others that we don't know. And that's why being kind and being kind to our future self is so important. So when you pay the toll for the guy behind you, or you let someone cut in front of you that have a few items at the grocery store, you don't know what's going on in their perception. And when you participate in a positive way, protecting and promoting others in their perception and yours, statistically and as an aggregate, you are going to compound a community of sponsors and power sponsors, people that want to help you and people that can help you and people that know people that can help you and you know that people can help them. It's that simple. And when I talk about people being kind to their future self, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Participating in the perception of self and others with an open mind, open heart, and open hands, an empathetic, humble existence of a collective consciousness of goodness. Extracting the ego, the interference, the resistance that we're creating, the void, shortages, and obstacles between us and our potential, our happiness, allowing us to enjoy the consistent, persistent pursuit of that happiness. Thank you, everyone, for joining me, David Meltzer, here on Breakfast of Champions. Please remember to be kind to your future self. Reach out to me if you want the discoverability document. I'll be happy to send that if you need help. Anything you need, if it's free, it's we. Just email me. Jay, close out the room. Let people know where they can find us. I want to thank everyone for being so vulnerable and illuminating their takeaways of the week. We'll be back next week at 7 a.m. Pacific as always. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon. Email me, david@dmeltzer.com.